also, when we're talking about politicians, we've got that general understanding that I think we both share, which is that they're not leaders, they're followers. And so cultural change has got to be first.
And the only way we achieve the proper sort of cultural change is by educating a lot more people to become vegan. And that means a lot more vegans have got to become involved in outreach. A lot more, of those people involved in outreach actually have to become organisers, instigators of the outreach themselves.
Yeah, that's kind of got to be our first job, isn't it? So
yeah, absolutely,
we're kind of jumping the gun if we can think we can go to politics at the moment. We're two species.
Yes, I mean, I was I was very involved with the Green Party, and as I said, I helped to bring about some of their improvement of their policies on animal protection. But even the Green Party, they're a human supremacist party, like all the others. That they've got these, really very good policies on animal protection, far better than the other parties, but they give them no priority. You don't ever hear about them. They're totally focused on humans and human issues. When the most important issue of all, in terms of slaughter and suffering, is what humans do to other animals. That is the first priority of our species to tackle. And yet, despite them being this radical left-wing party, they don't do that. And so I came to the conclusion that the only way you kind of change that is by educating more people to become vegan, because while we have so few vegans comparatively, we're never going to change that. We're never going to shift that focus. And so that's why I've kind of gone. I've started to approach things at a deeper level, which is vegan outreach.
Yeah, so all the people pointing fingers at so-called intersectional vegans on the left, their fingers should be pointed at politics in general, no matter what.
Yeah, well, it's this thing. Like I kind of used this phrase before. I've talked about the suprematrix, and what that is like a lot of people have seen the film The Matrix, where there was this people lived in a totally false reality. And we're going about their everyday business, the sad things, the happy things, and everything in this kind of fake reality. And that's how the world is. That there's this fake reality of this kind of, human issues and how we live our lives in society, in almost total ignorance in terms of not considering, what our species has done and continues to do to our fellow animals. It's horrendous. There's this tremendous horror going on all the time. Like whatever happens, whoever wins the US presidential election, whoever wins the general election in the UK, all these things that are going on in the world, politics and that, all the time, the lorries continue to roll to the slaughterhouses, and the trawlers continue to go out to sea. And there's this massacre of our fellow animals going all the time, and no one hardly thinks about it. And that is the thing, it's this false reality. We've got to get people out and live in this false reality, and to appreciate what the true conditions of existence are on this planet is that we've got one species. There's like the Nazis, really, that's kind of this horrendous, oppressor of the others. And we as a species have got to stop that. We've got to kind of radically change our behaviour towards our fellow animals. That is the priority for us. It's a priority for all humans, because if we're members of an oppressor species, it is the duty of all humans to do their best to end that oppression. And it's especially really the duty of vegans, because vegans are aware of it. If someone's kind of not aware of it, or kind of doesn't want to be aware of it, but we vegans know about it, which is kind of why we're vegan. And so we should be doing our utmost to end it in terms of outreach, in terms of spreading the vegan message.
Yeah, well, you've done your own party political broadcast there.
As always, it can't be said too many. This can't be said too many times. Is why I'm always saying it. It can't be said too many times. It's the only realistic way forward. Now, it's not an easy. There is no easy road to animal liberation. There's a long road and there are wrong roads. That's all there is. You know, there's a road we can go down where there is a chance of achieving it at the end of the day, which is through vegan outreach. And it's a long road, and it's not going to be a quick thing. But at least you can see how that would work. You could see how we can get there through that. Whereas other campaigns hit the buffers. You know, we know we're both involved in the ALF, and that achieved a lot. In the end, it hit the buffers. It was crushed by the state. Didn't achieve what was on the tin, animal liberation, and neither could it ever have achieved it, because you're not changing the culture. I don't watch the news. I have a quick flick through the Guardian app just to see the headlines. I very rarely read any of the stories, just to keep a little bit abreast. I don't watch the news because no point, because I can't change. I can't end the war in Ukraine. I can't stop, you know, Israel bombing Gaza. I can't get Trump out of office. I can't do any of those things. If somebody says, what is the solution to what's happening in Ukraine? What is the solution to what's happening in Gaza? What is the solution to Trump? My answer to all of them is vegan outreach. It's vegan outreach, because what we can do through vegan outreach is put an end to a situation which allows those things to happen, so that they kind of don't happen again eventually, if you see what I mean. And that's the problem. The reason we've got Trump, the reason we've got all these terrible governments and these things coming on, is because we've not done that, because we've not focused on education. You know, we've focused on protest, you know, and demonstrations and stuff like that, which very rarely achieve anything. And so we've not focused on education for decades and decades. We've not focused on education. So we've allowed this situation to develop. Trump wasn't imposed from the sky. Starmer wasn't imposed from the sky. Right? Neither was Putin. These people would not be in positions of power without the support of a substantial percentage of the population. You know, Trump was voted in. Starmer was voted in. Right? This is ordinary people voting these people in. So unless we change ordinary people, we're going to carry on forever having people like that, and we're going to carry on forever having Trump and having people like Starmer and having people like Putin. All right, so I don't know. None of these people would be in power without Hitler. Hitler was initially voted in. Like, all right, he became a dictator, but he was voted in initially. It was ordinary people voted for the bloke. You know, so we have to change all the people.
We're getting the same pattern.
So there we are. That's my party political.
That's your party political
podcast. Yeah,
part 1 and part 2.